Hi guys, I want to take you through the site here quickly. It's a demo, demo video made in Zoom. So I'm going to take you through the site and please, if you give me some feedback on it, that would be super. But it'll give you a good overview of it quite quickly. So what I want to do now is just share this with the site. So let me click on this. And there it is. It's opened up now. So what we're looking at here is the homepage. This is the page that people land on when they put in the words whispered wind words with no gaps, obviously, between those words, .com. That'll take you to this site. This is the page that pops up. Basically, the page is quite simple in that there's only three navigation buttons here. There is who is this site for, meditation and prayer, that's the heart of the site, and about this site. So when you first arrive on the site, you might go to who's the site for, which will basically tell you it's for three people, either beginners in their spiritual journey, those who are continuing their spiritual journey, and those that are teachers and want to use this site as an aid teaching others. And I'm going to bring you through a little bit of that in a moment. And then there's about the site. About the site, this is tells you a little bit about the site and the purpose of it, and of course who published it, so a little bit on me. Probably a good place to start, probably a good place to start is where people would first visit when they come in, and that's here. This site, what's it about? And if you click on this, I'm just going to read this. I'm not going to read it all for you, but I'm just going to read a little bit to give you a sense of it. This site is called Whispered Wind Words. It is offered as a spiritual resource, i.e., a time and space where you can stop and be guided in prayer, receive some spiritual teaching related to the guided prayer themes. Each of the meditations has an audio file to listen to, which avoids reading the text all the way through. Guys, you just push a button and it will be read for you. The objective of the site is to be a free offering, a holy well on the web. Drink deeply. What is your key message? What is our key message? Grow in intimacy with God. Most of us have some type of relationship with God, and all of us need to see it grow into all that it can be. Our message is therefore, go for it, go for that. And the site is seen as being a tool and an aid for that. How does it differ from all other sites out there, guys? I think the way it differs is that it tries to integrate teaching and prayer. In other words, loads of sites out there are doing good teachings in it. But what I've tried to do here is link all the teachings to a prayer as being a response to the teaching. So for instance, if you're going through a teaching and you like it, there's a suggested prayer that's related to that, which would make it more real. So I would see it more as a spiritual encounter than simply a teaching. That's the idea of the site. Anyway, there's the top of that page, as in all pages, you'll get this logo, which is the home button, and just takes you back to the start. Okay. So here's our start. And as I said, there was three navigation buttons on top. So we've looked at about this site, which is about the site, and published by, and that's yours truly. So it gives you a little bit on that. Who published the site? My good self. And it mentions the book there. Now, at the bottom of every page, and I'll just use it, I'll just go down to it here on this page, you have a place where you can actually go and comment or ask questions, say you like it, dislike it, disagree, whatever. Start a conversation. So it's like a feedback button that gives you an opportunity to discuss any given prayer or any given study on the overall site. It's on every page. So we'll basically go to this here where you'll be asked to fill in your name, your email, and then make any comment in here and just hit submit and it comes to me. So every page has that. So I'm hoping that people will be able to use it at that level. Now, as I say, every page has that. And if I go up to the top of this page, we're back to our navigation bar, which is those three, but I'd like to start again from the home page. So the home page is there. We have those. That's about the site. There's little else mentioned in there except that, and it's deliberately kept to a minimum because it's not a key feature of the site. I imagine people, when they first visit the site, would have a look here, but in subsequent visits, I don't believe they'll go anywhere near it. And in a sense, it's the same for this one here, but this is probably more interesting. Who is this site for? Well, if I was to click on that, it would tell you just what I've told you, which is it's for those beginning their spiritual walk. And you can read more about that. So it gives you a little bit more about those people. And those continuing their spiritual journey, again, information, more information on that to go deeper. And those guiding others on their spiritual walk, teachers basically, leaders of church who want to use this site as an aid, as a teaching aid, as a way of guiding people through a sort of structured study and prayer and get them into that place of prayer and study. Yeah. So it's basically those, and you can push in any one of those buttons and it'll take you down those roads. So for instance, let's have a look at some of those. So if I was to go down on this, it just takes you further down the page with newbies, most welcome, etc. Yeah. And just below that, it's continuing your spiritual journey and get a bit of bump about that, and then takes you off into continuing your journey, and I'll take you on into it there. And of course, teachers has the same. Now, if you were a teacher, yeah, I'll leave that. I'll come back to that because I think that would make more sense when you've got an idea of the heart of the site and what it's about. And again, just to prove to you that this comment or send me an email is that option is given at the bottom of every page. You don't have to go looking for it. So it's just simple there as an opportunity for feedback. That's all that's on this, that's all that's on the the front page. So now where we've got to is the heart of this site. As I say, people may go into that at the start, or they may go into about the site at the start, or who the site is for. But I think once they've got that settled in their minds, if they come back to the site, and I hope they would, it'll be into the heart of it, which is these two places. So under meditation, you've got two choices, prayer and study. So if you go click on the prayer one, this is the page that pops up. Basically a boy praying here, yeah? And underneath that, you've got choose from the list of prayers. So these are all the prayers below, and there are, at the moment, 15 of them, yeah? And they're all prayers that are done out there. I'll give you a taste of those in a moment. And on the other side, you choose from the studies, and a whole bunch of studies down here, yeah? Now, on the top of each of the choices, the very first one on this side is guidelines on how to pray. So for those novices coming in, there's guidelines on how you might go about prayer. So you're not just dropped in the middle of nothing, your own experience. There's guidelines given. Also, in the case of choosing from the study list, starts with the same crack. So guidelines on how to study prayerfully, and that's done there. And you can pop into those. And I imagine people will do that maybe on their first visit or second or third visit, but after that, they'll just, especially if they're doing a course, they'll just pop into the various ones that are relevant for them, and they'll move on. Why I present it like this, with on the one side you've got all the prayers, and on the other side you've got all the studies, is I want to show that they are linked. They are in fact linked. So when you go down through a study, at the bottom of the study, it'll give you the related prayer that relates to that study. Or if you decided to go first with the prayers and go down through some of these prayers, you'll find at the end of each prayer, it'll offer you a link back to an appropriate study which undergirds the prayer, if you know what I mean. So on one side, you've got studies supported by prayer. If you felt the study spoke to you, is a related prayer. If you went down through the prayer and you wanted to have a foundation, where is this prayer coming from? How does it relate to a study? It'll be linked to the study, and I'll have that offering. You won't have to go looking for it. I'll show you that in a minute. So basically, that's the idea of the site. But let's pop into one or two of them, and I'll show you what's there. So if we were to look on guidelines on how to pray, so let's pop into that one. What you get there is the boy praying, yeah, and the background. And the foreground, you have the question. So how would you suggest that I start to pray? Are there guidelines that would help? Yeah, so that would be the question, and it's been answered. And I've done that out as a teaching here. Yeah, and how you might go about doing that and get started in the prayer reference to Brother Lawrence and so forth. Now, on all these pages, you will have this option of having it read for you, so you don't have to read your way through it. So, for instance, if I push this one, it'll read all this text. Yeah, that's it. And each prayer would have a voiceover like that, as with each of the studies. And I may look for various people to do them, so it wouldn't just be my voice. So anyway, just push that button, takes you back to the heart of the thing again. So in this case, we have again the prayers going down through there. Let's just have a look at the study. Now, you see that guide there. There's a very similar guide given again with, I'll just go into it, but I'll not play it for you for the sake of time and so forth. So you have the same in prayerful study or meditation, what approach would you recommend? And I answer that question down through here. And again, you have the listening version of it. Yeah, but I will not, you can read that. You can have a look at that at your own time and pace whenever. Let me go back into this here. I'll actually approach one study. What happens when I hit the study one? Nothing very dramatic, guys. What really happens in the study one is we just swap places. Now all the studies on this side. You go down through them, and the prayers are on this other side. The reason why I keep them like this, guys, is to show that they're linked. That there's a sense in which it's not study like a Bible study on its own. It's more a meditation, more a sense of bringing people into a place of prayer. So you can see how it could be used as a teaching aid and to be used that way. But as I said, let's have a look at one of the this study here. It's one of the ones, as you know, it's at the heart of the message I have. So it's one I would naturally go to. But let me show you this because there's a number of elements to this. And let me just do that. Rather than talk about it, I'll show you it. So intimacy with God above all else. So it starts with that, and you've got the two people holding hands, which suggested with something, yeah? So suggested reading, the scripture reference, this teaching underneath is teaching about is Exodus 33. So what I'm suggesting here is somebody comes in here, either on their own or with a teacher, would actually go through that chapter and meditate on it. And if they're with the teacher, they would discuss it and they would argue back and forth their insights and how they feel about it. Yeah? And then when they've done that and been reasonably comfortable with the text itself, then have a look at the teaching that I provided. Yeah, Moses traveled on his pilgrim journey, etc. And my comments on it. And again, it's a nice point if you're with a teacher that you would discuss it. But if you're with on your own rather, yeah, it would cause questions to rise up. And you remember at the bottom of all the pages, there is an option to send your questions and your comments directly to me, and I would try and get back to you on it. So, and again, there's your button to push that. And basically that is this whole lesson here read for you. Now, the other thing that's in this one, if we bring you down to the bottom of it is, remember I mentioned that each of the studies links you back to a prayer. So this is your prayer, guided prayer for greater intimacy with God. So when you've read through all of that there and you say, oh yeah, greater intimacy with God really makes sense. What I'm saying to you is push this button and then you're back into a guided prayer about that, which you can listen to again, or I use my prayerful imagination to see myself with Moses walking up the mountain, etc. Yeah, and you'll have, so I pray, Lord, be merciful to me as a sinner. I now pause to let this prayer impact me. I pray, God, please speak to me in the silence. And you will find that that's a recurring little phrase that I use throughout, just to cause pause while I'm rushing through a prayer. See that down here it is again. And now pause to let this prayer sink in. I pray, God, please speak to me in the silence, and so forth as we go down through. So it's very much a meditative thing there. But if you go down to the bottom of this prayer, this is where you're linked back to a study. In other words, if you hadn't have gone into the study but went first into the prayer, you would work your way down to the bottom of the prayer, and then you would be given the option of a related study. And if you push that, voila, it brings you right back to the Moses one. Yeah, and you'd work on that. So it links prayer to study, and it links study to prayer. Now, if you go down to the bottom of this one, this is the one we were just looking at a moment ago, where we had this and we went away and followed this link down to the related prayer. But we also had within this, choose the presence of God first, a video, which is this video that I recorded a while ago, and there it is there. So this one's all about the Moses story as well. So now you've got this study supported by the text, and it also has an audio file. So if you're doing something, you use it as a podcast. And basically, if you were doing other things, you'll have it play in the background. You don't need to engage with text or anything. It's just like like a radio or whatever, and it's just read for you. And I'm also going to provide this here, which is a video, but I'm going to be able to separate the audio out of this and provide that as an option. So now you will have the text above all of this read for you, yeah, on audio file, that you don't have to stop and be attentive to. It can just play in, off your phone or whatever. And it would continue into an audio file on this video, which runs for, 10, 12 minutes or something like that. And that'll add to it. So you'll be able to do all of that while on the move, yeah? Or if you weren't interested in any of that at this point, you just return to the study list, yeah? And then you're back into another study and continue on. Fundamentally, that's it, guys. That's the site, and that's the approach I'm taking to the site. Love your feedback on it and see what you think, yeah? So I'm now going to click this button here, which brings me back to the home page, yeah? And that brings me back to square one, where we started out. I guess there's one thing I haven't really spoken enough about, I don't think, at this stage, and I'll just take another minute to do that. And that is this page here. Who is this site for? What about the teachers, yeah? How could they use it as an aid? So those guiding others on their spiritual journey who want to use this site as an aid, where they actually guide people through it. There's a bit of text about that and telling them basically what I'm saying here, yeah? But let's get started. And then what happens when you get started, you pop onto this page, which is how to use this site as a teacher's study. And there's basically 7 steps to it. So bring your students through the study guide. That's that prayer guide equivalent that I took you through just a moment ago. You bring them through the study guide so they'll do it prayerfully and set the right tone for the study. This is not a Bible study aid, guys. It's to integrate Bible study with prayer, resulting prayer. I don't want to separate the two out. And that's what typically you get with sites online, and so I'm trying to offer something different here. So that's step 1. Step 2, following consultation with the student or students. Why do I say students? Of course, this could all be done on a Zoom meeting where you have a number of people on it at the same time and decide on the study plan. In other words, you'd go take them through this guideline stuff, and then you'd have a look at the list of studies and decide, well, this one's interesting, we'll start with that, and maybe we'll follow on with that, and just discuss that with the people and get them involved. Choose the first study from the meditation and study list. That's just from the list above, yeah. Prayerfully read the suggested scripture reference to at the scripture referred to at the top of each of the study and discuss. Do you remember when we had a look at the Moses study? There was reference to Exodus 33. So what you would do is you would get them to read that first and discuss that with them. And they would discuss it with you and push and pull there. And then the next step after that would be prayerfully read the study. That's my one, what I put in place, and discuss that. The idea is to get people involved in it rather than being a dialogue, that it would be a dialogue, rather than a monologue, a sort of teaching thing, but more a discussion thing. Follow the links to the associated prayer. And I think that's very important. We don't want it to be a study guide solely, want it to be integrated with prayer. And I see that as being important. But that's not the be end and end all of everything. The final step is the most important one in many ways. So finally, end with your own Holy Spirit inspired prayer. And basically what I'm saying there is get away from the methodology I presented here. This is just the tool. So yes, by all means study. Yes, by all means follow the study and follow the prayer. But at the end of the day, you've got to make it your own. The good Lord doesn't like methods. You know, there's a good method. Let's do this as build a relationship with God. That doesn't work that way, that well, any more than it does for us. So none of us like to be method into a relationship. Yeah, enough said, guys. And again, of course, at the bottom of every page, you have your comments. So teachers can make their comments, send back questions, etc. Oh, by the way, you can email me directly, Pat, at that. Yeah, so that's it. And that brings us back to the home page. And that's back around the circle. That's it, guys. So I'd love some comments on it. I plan to launch it in the next week or so. So if you get back to me, that'd be great. Thanks a million. Bye.